Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Santa Clarita Insider. I am Connor MacIvor with Tim Blankenship. We're going to have a guest today, but we do appreciate you tuning in. And if you wouldn't mind sharing and liking and doing all that fancy stuff, we would greatly appreciate it. Tim, how was your weekend? You got to tell me.
You told me not to talk about it.
Okay. So how was your Monday?
It was good.
Very good.
Yeah. No, but the weekend was good. We had a good time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed meeting your friends and everything. Yeah. And thanks for all the tattoos. I've never been to a party where people invite a tattoo guy and get us all tattoos. I'm not sure what mine says, but you say it's Arabic. Is that what you said it was?
It was supposed to be. I think the tattoo artist shouldn't have drank.
Yeah, you know what? It was
That's
a little painful, but yeah. All right. Well, maybe next time we'll get somebody to remove the tattoos at the next party. We'll just kind of sneeches have stars on their bellies and all that.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, we have a great guest. I'm very excited. Kind of up both of our fitness lives together. We have Julie Hittleman. She's been watching her transformation over years. She's a registered nurse, but beyond that, she really is good at what she does, and it's not so much the nurse that she has that with her name, but really she just has this drive and will, and she's been through it, and she's transformed herself and her clients. Yeah, perfect.
There we go.
Oh my gosh, there she is. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on today, both Connor and Tim. It's awesome to be with you guys this morning. I'm excited.
Very cool.
It's going to be a good show. So you and I have talked on Facebook. I know Tim has seen your stuff on Facebook as well, and it's very, very impressive. What was, I guess the biggest question, you've even asked me this before you and I talked back in the day. What was your why? Why did you start?
Oof. Well, to give it in a nutshell, prior to my transformation, I was an avid gym rat is the best way to explain myself. And I was running half marathons, lifting weights, spinning, doing boot camps. I loved going to the gym. It was my stress outlet. And in 2014, I had a cervical spinal cord injury. And a neurologist said, well, you can keep doing that or you can walk for the rest of your life. And so I had to give up the gym. And that was really what kind of, for my mental health, that was where my outlet was. But what happened was I used to run 6 miles a day so I could eat whatever I wanted. And so I used to say, I just outrun my fork, when that injury happened and I couldn't work out, I started to get depressed and I started to eat, and then I would eat because I was depressed, and then I'd get depressed because I was eating, and became that vicious cycle. So over the course of a couple of years, I not only put on weight that I had taken off numerous times before, I've tried all the things I won't even mention the names of the different companies, but if you know a company for weight loss in the past 25 years, I guarantee I've tried it, failed at it, and done some things I was ashamed to even admit I tried. I'm sure everyone's tried like the cabbage soup diet or the 1 apple a day and some water diet, or let's just not eat altogether. And so even being a nurse and knowing about nutrition, I was still trying all the fads, all the things, and I was failing miserably. And in 2020, we're all heading into, this global pandemic, I found myself over 100 pounds heavier than I'd ever been in my life. I was at 265 pounds. I could barely breathe. I called my doctor on the phone, who I had worked with in primary care for over 10 years, and said, hey, can you just give me some Lasix? I'm carrying some water weight.
Got to start somewhere.
Good story. And he said, with much love, I've worked with you a long time. He says, I'm going to be really blunt. You need to lose weight. He says, you are a former smoker. You are so overweight right now. I think you might be in congestive heart failure with your symptoms. And so he said, I want to send you to cardiology and have a transthoracic echocardiogram to make sure you're not having heart failure. I'm like, whoa, I'm 49 years old. I can't, it hit me. And he's like, to be honest, you're about 1 hamburger shy of a heart attack. And being someone who lost my mom at the age of 59 and spending most of my adult life without my mother in my life, I was like, how am I going to do this to my kids? He sent me off to cardiology. Thank God my heart was okay. But a friend of mine had reached out with this same program that I now coach and said, please just give me 30 days. let me change your life. And I told her, look, I failed everything out there. There's nothing you can do for me. I was resigned to be fat and happy. And the fact was I was fat and miserable. So as we headed into the pandemic, I couldn't breathe walking up a flight of stairs to my office. And then they put a mask on me and I thought I was suffocating. So I figured, you know what? I have nothing to lose but the weight. I'm going to give her 30 days. And in that 30 days, so much happened for me that I dropped a total of 29 pounds. I could breathe again when I, was walking up the stairs, not well, but, everyone around me was saying, anyone with a BMI of, 30 or more, and mine was at 45. I was in the medical field. We didn't know much about COVID. All I knew was I was overweight, I was unhappy, I was unhealthy, and I needed to do this more than just to get into a pair of skinny jeans. My life depended on it. And I think when you have that wake up call, that it's not just about, oh, I really wish my skinny jeans fit, or I wish I could get ready for this wedding, or I have this event, or my class reunion is coming up and I want to look great. I didn't care what I looked like on the outside. I knew that if I didn't do something, I was going to die. And that was a hard fact.
It's a whole different thing when the medical professional says, yeah, if you don't do this, you're going to die, versus you getting to do it because you choose to do it.
Absolutely.
People, I think you have to get in our age group, as we three are pretty close probably, before, we actually come to these conclusions and actually want to change. But change is hard. It really is.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it, is I didn't want to change what I was doing. I mean, the funny thing is, and I joke about this, and I think I told you about this, Connor, is McDonald's came up with hero meals.
That's right.
Hero meals, because everything was closed, right? Literally May 25th of 2020 is when I started my journey. And it's funny because this month for me, so I'm so grateful that you guys brought me on, because this is about the time in May of 2020 when I was making these decisions to get my health back. And so I was commuting to my job at the time. I work for, I'll just say, a large hospital here in the LA area that has a really decent football and basketball team. And they have a lot of hospitals, very well known. And I was running 4 clinics in the Westlake area. And really there was nothing open for us to eat, during the day, but it was really convenient because you could drive through McDonald's on the way to work and pick up breakfast, and then drive there for lunch because they were open and it was free. And you could get, something on the ride home, which there was no traffic, but hey, it was free. So I always say that the month of May, as I was getting ready to start this health journey, I was supersizing myself on McDonald's every day. So the extra sodium didn't help. The extra didn't help. But I was stress eating because of, what was going on at work and in my own life. And so it was really this trifecta of, it was the perfect storm for me. And I really say now with my clients, you can either have the pain of something that pushes you to make a change, or the desire that's going to pull you towards it. So for me, what got me started on my health journey was the pain of the thought of dying and leaving my family without me. Or I could shift it, which this is probably why the success in the program I coach, it's not about the pain that pushes, it's about the desire that pulls. And the desire pulling you towards something is twice as strong, if not more, than the pain of being pushed to do something. You don't want to wait till you're so sick that you have no other choice. But if you make that choice and you have a desired outcome, can actually pull you through. And I talk to my clients a lot about this, which is called structural tension. It's either you have intrinsic motivation or extrinsic. And being sick is that extrinsic motivation that pushes you, where if you have that intrinsic desire to make changes, it's going to pull you. And when your desire to change has that tension, just like someone walking a tightrope, if there's tension on that line, you can walk it. If you're wonky about it and not real, you're real slack, you're going to fall off. And that's where a lot of people say, well, I cheat on my diet. Well, yeah, because it's a diet. There's not a lot of tension there. But when you're making healthy lifestyle changes, and this is something you plan to do forever for your health, the tension of that really helps to move you forward on that journey, because your why becomes so much bigger than your but. I would do that, but I would do that, but do you know what I mean? It's like
I do.
you will have that, my health depended on it. I had blinders on. It's like, I'm going to get healthy. There was no question of what I was going to be at the end of it. My mind was set.
How many times had you attempted? I like to call it practice, because I must have practiced, and Tim too. I mean, we've all three of us have been in the same pot together. I tried so many times. I failed so many times, but I have all these great pictures of when I was so fat all that time, because today's the day. I'm going to do it today. And then something happened today, and it's like, you know what? I'll just wait till tomorrow, because you know what? I'm pretty good today. I can't breathe either. I'm so fat, but you know what? I'm going to wait till tomorrow. How do you tell your clients to get over that? Did you have that issue? All the practice?
Yeah, I practiced a lot. I always tell my clients, especially the ones who like to start on a Monday. I hate that. Let me start on Monday. Like it's the start of the week. When I started immediately. I started on a Tuesday. And that's because that was the soonest I could. And start working with my coach, start doing all the things, because that's when it was available to me. I didn't care. It could have been Thursday. I find that my most successful clients are the ones who start like that. The ones who wait till Monday have something what I call all or nothing thinking. That's the same person that starts on a Monday that when they make a choice to eat something that's maybe not in their best interest, they go, well, you know what? I've already done that today. I might as well go in. So I'll start on Monday. I'll start on Monday so I can enjoy this weekend, go have a couple of drinks. Does that sound familiar?
I'm perfect at, if I make one little mistake in my diet, I'm like, well, I screwed it up already, so this might as well ruin the whole day.
And that's called all or nothing thinking, and that's a diet mentality, and that's what kept me trapped in the yo-yo for so many decades. That I would start a diet, and I always used to say diet is die with a T at the end. Because I would die a little bit every day that I deprived myself of stuff, and like I told Connor, I said, we had a conversation, I think it was last week. And I said to him, this is perfect for the realtors in my life. Your body is the one piece of real estate you'll never be able to sell. It's the one place you're going to live, right? That you can upgrade it, you can decorate it, but what you put into that house is what you're going to have the whole time you're here. So what is it that you want your house to look like? And for me, that diet mentality of yo-yoing was, I tried all the things, got to the weight that I wanted to be, but then it stopped. It was like I hadn't changed anything other than what was going in my mouth. And the hardest change that I made, but was also the easiest, was working with someone to change the 6 inches in between my ears. Because everything I'd ever done before was a diet. What I did with the program I now coach, it's mindset. And for my clients that work with me, the program itself around food is 1/4 of what I do. It's like, here is what you're going to do to give you, I can guarantee that if you follow this, you're going to lose weight. And with any diet, if you follow it, you're going to lose weight. The difference is, if you don't change your habits, you will be revisiting that weight over and over and over again. It's mindset. It is mindset. It is the habits you form around what you do. And it really is about not doing it alone. I've dieted in the dark in shame for decades, and it didn't serve me. What served me was working with someone who understands what I was struggling with. And there was even one time, and I say this with much love to the medical community, I was given an award that is paired with a company that many of you know of, Cinnabon. And as part of this foundation, the recipient of this award is given Cinnabon, along with the entire crew I worked with at the time. So what do you give the nurse who just lost 100+ pounds?
Cinnabon for life.
right? No, you give her a box of 15 freshly baked Cinnabon and you deliver it at 9 a.m. in the morning with a certificate saying thank you.
Adios.
Yeah.
They're
But I'll
gone.
tell you, in the past, I would have dived into that and said, I'll start on Monday. And literally coaching clients for over a year, having the tools in place, I picked up the phone and I called my own health coach, because I always tell people I'm a client first and I'm a coach second, because I'm still working with the tools I've learned over the last 3 years. But a health journey doesn't end when the scale gets to the number you wanted to see. I contend for my health every single day of my life. And I picked up the phone 3 times that day and told my coach, I need you to talk me off a ledge, because all I want to do is pull the center out of that Cinnabon. I don't care about the exterior. I just want that gooey center.
And
And
scoop up whatever icing's left over. Yeah, gotta
right?
go.
And so I'm like, why am I doing this when a year has gone by plus and I've gotten this under control? Why is this triggering me? And in talking to someone who understands those triggers, I know what that thing tastes like. Do I need to have it in my mouth? No. Is it going to benefit me? Is it going to get me closer to my goal or further away? And this is where a diet and a lifestyle differ. I looked at the Cinnabon and was like, that choice is going to take me further away from my goal. It's not going to help me. Have I had it before? Absolutely. Do I know what it tastes like? Absolutely. What benefit would it be to me to have it in my mouth right now so that I could satisfy an emotional need? Because I find when I'm craving something like that, I'm usually trying to feed an emotion. I'm not trying to feed my health. And that was the key for me, is realizing that I like to shove my emotions back down with crunchy, sweet, and salty, savory things, depending on the emotion. And I didn't think of myself so much as an emotional eater, but it really was, I was craving that because it tripped my dopamine or my feel good hormone, as opposed to the stuff I get when I exercise now, which is serotonin, which hits a lot more receptor sites. And at the same time, when you exercise and you get that release of I feel good hormone, that's serotonin, versus let me do something sugary to satisfy the emotion. You get that instantaneous I feel good, but then you get the I feel like crap now when it wears off.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is, going back to the Cinnabon, is it's just that a momentary lapse, right, in decision making. I mean, it just happens in a second, and you may not even know that you did it, and then it's already, the deed's already been done.
Yeah. And then you beat yourself up because you weren't strong enough with willpower. And I always say willpower is, one thing, but white knuckles are a warning sign. Because you can say no 100 times, but that 101st time you cave. And I always say to my clients, buy your willpower at the store. If you know there is a food that triggers you, don't bring it in the house, because you can say no 100 times, but that 101st time it gets you. I personally love pistachios. Love pistachios. They call to me every time I walk past them in the grocery store, and that's exactly where I leave them. Because even though they're a healthy substitute for a healthy fat, it's kind of like a Lay's potato chip to me. I can't have just one. I can't. I will eat pistachios until the cows come home. I love them. So I know if I'm taking them from somebody, I can control the quantity. And after a while, I can do that. Still to this day, I can do that a couple of times. But then I get an itch and I go, ooh, you know what? I can eat the whole bag. It's healthy fat. And you start rationalizing in your head. But the tools I have in place are, you know what? If I don't bring it in my house, then I buy my willpower at the store. When I gain the willpower to deal with that, and I still, like I said, I'm a client first, coach second. I think what makes me an effective health coach is I've struggled with the same things that my clients do, and I've got the tools in place to make better decisions. And I tell people it's not about perfect, it's about progress. And if you can progress closer to your goal in a healthy way and learn healthy habits along the way, these are things that are going to serve you for a lifetime. I'm not here to help people lose weight. If you want a fad diet, please go find one. I want to help people get healthy. As a nurse, that's why I became a nurse. And like I shared with Connor, I've helped more people, I feel, in the last 2.5 to 3 years as a health coach than I ever did in the 21 plus years that I served as a nurse, because our system isn't, in my opinion, it's a broken system of managed sick care. People stay sicker longer instead of really getting healthy because they rather take a pill or a shot or something where they don't have to change their habits because to them it's too much work.
Julie, would you say, you know, being a nurse, that is kind of the way that medical care is, that it's not designed necessarily for changing habits, but just to put a Band-Aid over it? It seems like everything is a pill or, you know, something to cover it up, versus actually changing people's you know, decisions. Because we've had to, like for my wife, we've had to seek out specific different healthcare privately, just to get you know, not coaching necessarily, but to have, I forget what they call, like a functional medical doctor that it works towards that, you know, fixing the issue versus, you know, covering up. And of course that all is not covered under your medical plan, but that's, you have to make that decision to not just take a pill.
You know, my last nursing position, I was the supervisor of endocrinology and gastroenterology, two of the main areas people go when they have problems with weight or endocrine problems that really affect their diet and their well-being. And you see a lot of diabetes, you see a lot of gastrointestinal issues. And I say that the system, the reason it's broken is that doctors will give a pill because they don't have the amount of time they really need to sit down with a patient and really get to the crux of the problem. And people quick fix. They really, I think, are more geared towards, you know, what do I have to do the least of to get the result I'm looking for? And so you hear, like, you know, like right now, I think the big push has been like all these diabetic drugs that people are seeking that aren't diabetic so they can lose some weight. And it's like, why would you put a chemical in your body that's, you don't know what the long-term effects are going to be? Because how many times have you heard, you know, 6 years, 10 years later, if you were a client that took this, please, you know, we are representing, you know, I mean, there's all, yeah, I wasn't going to name any names, but there's,
sorry,
you know,
one that starts with a P.
Or what about the ones they use for acid reflux that they found out caused stomach cancer? You know, there's a lot of things you hear about that everyone, it's the newest drug, it's the newest craze, it's the newest fix all. And it's, you realize that you could fix a lot of your problems if you just learned how to fuel your body with food instead of used it as a coping mechanism. And so I look at our healthcare system, you know, as the doctors don't have this was before even COVID, not a lot of time to be with clients, weren't able to really enforce or educate. You send someone off to a registered dietitian, they may learn how to measure food or what things to eat, but then they have no guidance at home. And they're like, okay, well, I can't keep this up, so I might as well keep doing what I'm doing and take the pill because it's easier to take the pill to manage this. But then you have those few people that are like, teach me what to do so I can get healthy. And there's really like you said, the resources become something that your insurance doesn't cover, that you have to pay for outside of. And it's like, how much could we save in our healthcare system if we just taught people how to be healthy?
Billions, but then people that are supplying the healthcare system, they would go broke. So because a lot of people would be able to heal themselves by just changing their diet. I wanted to ask you, Julie, tell Tim and I about addiction. How much of the obesity epidemic is addiction, true addiction, or is it all addiction? Because I know I have to watch. Even now when I go out, even after dropping that 135 pounds, I got to be careful. I'll end up in a drive-through at Jack in the Box buying 15 tacos. I mean, just easy. I just have to, but so I gotta, and I'll go for it. As Tim said earlier about the autopilot kind of thing, you know, used to the Cinnabon, you're just eating it, and then all of a sudden you're done. It's like, oh my God, really? But you know, so I have to prepare myself. How much of it is addiction?
Well, in my opinion, and I can only give you my opinion because I'm not an addiction specialist, but I know that for myself and others, and talking with doctors, that sugar is just as, if not more addictive as heroin. It lights up the same centers of the brain as heroin does, you know, the reward center. So, you know, how much of what we do is addiction. And when you look at even like bread having sugar in it, or, you know, all these things, people think, oh, I'm a carboholic. No, you're not. You're addicted to what you're giving your body. There's sugar in it. And the food industry, I think, purposefully addicts us to food, because there's stuff in our food here in the US that you won't find in stuff in, say, the UK. It's, you know, are we addicted to the actual food itself or the ingredients? And I think, you know, when you look at all the things people can't live without, you know, we've gotten addicted to the sugar or the, you know, stuff that hits that dopamine in our brain. And so it's kind of like becoming a Pavlovian trained dog. You know, it's like after a while we know, ooh, a certain coffee company and certain, you know, drinks, we start to crave it. Are we craving the drink or the sugar because it's got more sugar in it than probably a soda? And you're like, your center of your brain is craving that stimulant of, you know, feeding, I guess, if you will, the addiction. And I think it's any addiction, some, you know, when you look at drug addiction and stuff like that, how much of it is hereditary, how much of it is, you know, your environment versus what you've done. And I think the hardest addiction I've ever overcome, and I will say it's an addiction, is food, because it's the one drug you can never give up because your body requires you to have it. So you have to find that balance of nutritionally fueling your body, not using food as a therapy or as an emotional coping mechanism, which many people who struggle, I have found with obesity, is that they're compensating their food as a drug of choice because it makes them feel good. I know for me, I used to have one of my biggest triggers is when I was alone and I had this feeling of emptiness that I used to think was hunger. And I would find myself in front of the refrigerator trying to eat, but no matter what I ate, I couldn't satiate the hunger because it wasn't hunger. It was the feeling of being alone and caused an empty feeling in the pit of my stomach that in my brain, I thought I'm just hungry. But what it was an emotional mismanagement skill that I had developed because I wasn't addressing the emotions. I was simply feeding the emotions with the addiction of the food. And it took a long time for me to correlate the two. And it took working with a health coach to realize through journaling, every time I went to go do that, I would journal and realize I was either sad or lonely. And that triggered a feeling in my gut that I mistook for food needing to be put in.
Julie, are you able to, you were talking earlier when we first started the conversation about it's more the mentality than the food, and then you were talking about in the grocery store. Are you able to speak to some of the main tenets of your coaching program? And I know food has to play some part in that food selection, I would imagine, but it sounded like that's on the minimal side of things. It's more mentality.
Yeah, I mean, there are several components within the program that I coach. One of them is it's one-on-one coaching. I walk side by side with my clients. It's not, you know, I always say, well, if you need to hold my pocket for a little bit longer, hold my pocket, but I'm always there for them. And I think one of the things that I lacked in every other program I ever did was there was no one there, not so much for accountability, but when I had questions, I was unsure. And by no means am I an expert. I'm a guide on this journey and helping. You know, I always say you just have to be one meal that's healthy ahead of your client to share your experience. And that's what I do with my clients. I don't know it all. I'm never going to say I know it all. I have a fair amount of knowledge. So I share that with my clients, say, look, this may not work for you. This is what most of my successful clients find work. This is what worked for me. Let's try this. But having the avenue to guide them and give suggestions for help. The second part is with my clients, I also have a Facebook community. It's really about being on this journey with like-minded people who are having the same mindset of getting healthy. And it's a place to really celebrate. A lot of my clients have dieted in the dark and shame for years, that don't want to tell anybody they're doing a diet because what if it fails? And it's like this community is really about celebrating the journey and in the becoming. And it becomes a place of the shame disappears and people get to celebrate, I'm getting healthy. And that part is celebrated as opposed to shaming or feeling ashamed of the celebration. We focus a lot on non-scaled victories. What in your life has changed? What are you getting as a result of making healthier choices? And let's celebrate that. The other component of that is the educational, where I work with my clients, not just on the food, but also in the mindset. And it's really developing small, healthy habits that instead of going back and breaking old bad habits, which is so hard to do, it's really about creating new healthy ones that replace it, so that moving forward, you're creating that healthy lifestyle. So it's not doing it all at once. Try everything all at once, you're going to fail. But if you try incremental steps a little at a time and reinforce that, you're going to succeed far more often than you fail. And it's not about failing. I always say failing is first attempt in learning. There is no such thing as losing. It's really about what I don't know. What can I learn? And so I work with my clients on that. And really the mindset piece is creating healthier habits and a healthy identity. I used to be the fat girl on a diet. And in my head, I was always the fat girl pretending to be skinny. Or how much longer can I hold on to this weight? What can I deprive myself to stay here? And I think the difference when I did this program as a client was, for the first time in my adult life, I was making healthy changes, and I was an adult making healthy choices. I was no longer that fat girl on a diet, and my identity shifted. And it was about continuing healthy habits for a lifetime, not so I could look good in skinny jeans. I didn't care about the loose skin. I didn't care about the stretch marks. I didn't care about the physical attributes of what my body would look like. I mean, it's great to fit into skinny jeans. It's great to share my transformation pictures. People go, oh my God, it's huge difference in what you're doing. Yeah, it looks good. And most people will look at that transformation and say, I want what she has. And that's great. But are you willing to do what I did? It wasn't just a diet. It was a shift in my mentality. It was a shift in my habits. It was a shift so that I could have a healthy quality of life and quantity of life at the same time. So in doing that, those are really the 4 components of the program I coach. It's everything all at once. There are some people that will come to me and say, I just want to lose weight. I can help you with that. Do you want to lose weight, or do you want to lose the weight by releasing it so that you never gain it back again, because you'll have the tools in place? Now, does that mean you can't gain it back? Of course you can. But when you change your habits, you're giving yourself better odds of keeping that weight off for a lifetime, because you've changed your identity and become healthy as opposed to just skinny.
Do you prescribe or suggest any particular, without calling it a diet, I suppose, but eating method? You know, there's all these, there's
carnivore, keto,
carnivore, and there's all these things. Do you have a
fasting
preference, or do you leave that to your client?
Fasting.
So like, I love that Connor has the, I will say, the dedication and commitment to himself to have done what he did. It's very difficult for some people to do that, or to know what to eat. And, you know, like I said, every diet out there works if you do it. There are some diets that are less healthy for certain, we'll call it disease processes. Like someone who comes to me who has diabetes, I'm certainly not going to have them fasting. Some people do. I'm not saying that it, again, I am not the expert on diets, but I will.
Okay, Tim, I think we're done now. No. Okay.
No,
That's
I
it.
will say that.
See you, Julie. Had nice meeting you.
No, I will say, like, it's like what Connor does with intermittent fasting. He's burning fat as fuel for 12 hours a day. The program that I coach has people burning fat 24 hours a day, and it levels out your insulin so that your glycemic index of your food, which is how long your body takes to burn it as fuel, is low. And with that, you get sustained energy, and you're actually, when you're losing weight, you're actually losing fat. The problem I have with keto-like diets is when people attempt keto, they think fat, protein, cut out all carbs. If you're not having enough protein in your diet, your body will utilize your skeletal muscle as a protein source. And for someone in our age bracket, we'll say that out there, right? As you get older, you naturally lose your muscle mass, and it can lead to bone thinning called osteopenia, or bone loss called osteoporosis. So for a woman my age, it's really important for weight bearing exercises and to make sure that my diet is not diminishing even more skeletal muscle, because it puts me at greater risk for bone thinning and bone loss, which is, something that most of us are trying to prevent. So choosing a diet that fits the person, really take into account, what am I trying to accomplish and what's the healthiest, not the fastest, not what's going to help me look great in a pair of jeans, what's going to support my overall health goals. And talk with somebody. Don't just, my girlfriend is doing blah, 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 I'm going to go buy a book on, on keto, because someone with diabetes that's doing keto, might all of a sudden find that, yeah, your blood sugar may go down and your weight's going down, but your cholesterol is going through the roof. And now they have to go see their doctor for cholesterol medication because they've had so much fat in their diet that now their cholesterol is an issue and that they're at greater risk for stroke and heart attack. I mean, there's a give and take with everything. But what I tell people is find what works for you. Is what I do with my clients 100% for everybody? Absolutely not. I think the people that want to make changes in the way that I coach it, great. If they want to do keto and it works for them, I have friends that have done keto for years and it's worked for them, but they're very diligent in doing it properly and not sloppy keto. But then I have people that I know that have done keto that have been medically supervised, but their kidney clearance is affected. Their BUN, their creatinine goes up. They also find they end up with fatty liver. So there's always a balance. And sometimes if you go one extreme or the other, yes, you may be losing weight, but you may be causing damage to your body that and especially if you don't go see your doctor regularly or check with your doctor to do blood tests, to have all these other things go wrong. It's not if the benefits outweigh the problems, great. But if you put yourself in a whole other skew of problems, it's not worth the effort to lose the weight, in my opinion.
Going back to the fasting, we had a question come in. Tony says, very interesting, Julie. What's your opinion of prolonged fasting?
I personally say if it works for you, but like I said, with intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting, what you're doing is you're triggering your body to use your stored fat. As human beings, we store fat through, when you have carbs and you don't use them for energy, it gets stored because the way our bodies were designed, we were hunter gatherers. We didn't have McDonald's on every corner. And unfortunately, we're still working on a 3,000-year-old or whatever, how many hundreds of thousands of year operating system, right? Our biological hasn't changed much. So for me, I, look at small frequent meals throughout the day. Sustaining blood sugar is how we were designed to eat. If you decide to do fasting, what happens is in the time that you're fasting and your body needs energy, it dips down into your fat stores to utilize the stored fat as fuel. If done correctly, in like Connor's case, done correctly, able to sustain it, great. But like I said, it's not a one size fits all. He's very diligent in what he does. And I'm sure manages it in a way that most people don't. They do it as a fad diet to lose some weight, where he committed to this particular lifestyle and was very diligent with it. In those cases, I think it works. But I think people that use it temporarily and don't do it properly can actually cause some damage to themselves.
It seems like regardless of which direction you go, sustainability would be number one, something you can keep doing versus doing as a fad or for a period of time and then jumping off and either doing something else or going back to your old ways.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think the sustainability is not just dieting, because when we think of diet, we think of what goes in our mouth. Your diet consists of not only what you feed your body as fuel, but your mind, your habits, what you read, what you watch. What you put in is what you get out. If you're putting healthy information in, you're going to get healthy reactions out. And I think for years, I was always looking for that next quick fix, that next fad, that thing that was going to be the magic bullet, that thing I did once and looked great. Because in my head, I wasn't dealing with the actual root problem, which was I was using food as my drug of choice to mask a lot of things that were going on in my life that I didn't want to deal with. And I think as I started to get healthier habits as I started to change my mindset, my choices are different because my reasoning as to why I was doing it, my why changed from the day I started this program to lose the weight versus the 2 years that I've kept the weight off and continue to live a healthy lifestyle. I think it starts with small steps, and it's where you want to go. Where is, you can get on any vehicle to get you there, but if you don't know where you're going, you're driving aimlessly. You'll end up somewhere. But if you don't choose the destination of where you really see yourself going, you're just on a long, car trip that until you run out of gas, and land somewhere.
It starts with that whole premise of, if we're all going to go somewhere, if I'm going to take my body on a journey, I got to make sure I have the right people on the bus with me, and I can't have other addicts with me. I can't have people that are saying, Connor, eat this, Connor, drink this, Connor, do this. I have to get the bus cleared off. We have to get a destination, and we have to get there together. The question, or what I wanted to bring up, is you talk about the emotional component, where the people that are eating too much, typically there's an emotional component. You mentioned that, journaling and through therapy and talking with coaches like yourself, or you in particular, is there a simple way to find out if there is an emotional driver behind the eating, or is there always? Or, besides, I know a lot of people want to DIY it, do it themselves. How do you try to find that emotional connection? Because especially like as a male, a little too macho at many too time, way too often. Maybe Tim's macho too. I don't want to admit that I have some kind of childhood baggage that's making me go eat those Krispy Kreme donuts in the morning.
Right. No, I think asking yourself good questions. I mean, for me, I didn't want to admit that, I didn't even know I was doing it. And when I started asking myself better questions, like, am I hungry? Or am I wanting to feed something else? Like, why am I going after this? And I would stop myself for a second and start asking good questions. And one of them is one of the tools I use with my clients is, am I feeling, I ask a series of questions to myself. Am I bored? Am I lonely? Am I angry? Am I anxious? Am I tired? Am I emotional right now? Or am I feeling depressed? And I'll ask myself a series of questions when I make a choice that's not the healthiest for my body. And then I might say, well, I'm bored. That late night, I'm watching TV. I feel like I need something in my mouth to crunch on. Why? Because it's been a habit all my life to sit and mindlessly eat. So I make it a point that when I do eat, I'm really mindful of what I'm eating and slowing things down. And for me, some of that could be like, I know this is going to sound really odd, but as you're sitting eating a meal, think about where your food came from, not just the grocery store. What about the farmer who raised it? What did it eat? What color was it? To really get mindful, to slow it down. Cause I know for me, I'd shovel it all in. I'm a nurse. You don't have time to sit down or even pee. So you inhale food. You don't taste it. Sometimes you chew it. You might chew it. There's a lot of us out there that dashboard dine because our lives are hectic. You throw the kids some fries in the back of the car so that they stop screaming that they're hungry. And, your hand's in there eating the fries too, because, it smells good. It triggers something emotionally. There's so many reasons that people eat. Men, women, doesn't matter. I think the thing is really coming to yourself and going, why am I eating? Why am I making this unhealthy choice? What's driving it? And asking yourself those better questions. But if you don't know the questions to ask, you're just going to keep doing what you're doing. But when you bring, how like they say, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so bringing that awareness to my clients, like asking, well, why did you do that? What made you eat that? Because they'll come to me and go, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm not your food confessional. I'm here to guide you on the journey. I'm not here to tell you what
Father.
bad or indifferent. What I tell them is, well, what made you do it? When you sit there and you say, I didn't want to eat it, but I ate it. There's a couple of things they'll identify is, well, I did it because it's been my habit, or I was feeling this kind of way, or my friends took me out for drinks and I lost the willpower. I think you talked about this a couple, maybe a week ago about, I call it the crab bucket. that crab bucket where one crab's trying to get out and the rest of them just drag it back down. It's like, oh no, misery loves company. Come back here. You can't get out. We can't let you succeed. And I've had a lot of people in my life where they're like, oh, that one bite's not going to hurt you. Oh, just have it this one time. You'll get back on the boat tomorrow. I fell off the truck. There's no truck. There's no truck to fall off of.
Dangerous place.
Tell them food pushers. They see you getting healthy and it triggers something in them that they feel like, I can't let her succeed because then I can't use my excuse because my excuse is no longer valid. But if I sabotage her and she comes right back in with me, then I feel secure. And those are your food pushers in your life. And we all have them. And some of them we're related to. Oh, it's that time of year and Aunt Betty only makes that blueberry pie. You're going to not get it until next year. And everyone has FOMO. I'm never going to get Aunt Betty's pie. And then you have those relatives. Well, what if Aunt Betty passes away? Then you're surely never getting that pie. I mean, I'm Jewish.
That's rough.
I grew up on Jewish guilt. It's like stuff like that comes up and you're like, what the hell? It's like, I'm just trying to be here longer with you guys. But you have those people in your life and we all have them. I told everybody, I'm on a health journey. I'm getting healthy. You do what you want. Even in my own household, I need to do this for me. And I need you to
how do you justify that to the people around you that have watched you as we call it practice, but in their minds you failed? It's like, really, Connor, really going to do this again? You're going to you're going to put your family through? What do you say to have them get beyond that?
Well, you know what? I've said to a couple of people, I've tried everything because I want to be healthy. I don't want to die at 59 like my mom did. I'm now 7 years younger than my mom was when she popped off the planet unexpectedly because of, I like to say, she was given a medication by a doctor that put her into liver failure. And within a month and a half of the medication, she passed away. But my mom also had type 2 diabetes, had struggled with adult obesity, even though she was never obese as a child. There was a lot of trauma in her life and she used food as well. And she tried to control and did control her diabetes with food. She was a very diligent person about getting her health back. She quit smoking, all the things she did to get healthy. And it was too late. It was too late for her. And so when people start giving me that kind of guff, and not everybody has that story, but that's what actually, her death caused me to go into nursing. And every client I serve now and every patient I have ever taken care of, I've done so because I get to help them do what my mom never got to do. And that was get healthy and be here for her family. And so if I have to go without a piece of chocolate cake to be here to see my grandchildren someday, because I don't have any, or my great-grandchildren, or to be here to serve as a guide for my children as they become parents, and they ask me, hey, Mom, can I get your advice? Well, if I'm not here, they're going to go through what I went through, was raising 2 children with only one sibling who didn't have kids, and I didn't have a village to help me raise them. And that was brutal. And there is not a single piece of chocolate cake or fill in the blank that's more important than my kids and being here for them. And so, I told the people in my life, you either can support me or you can watch me. But if you're not supporting me, you're going to be watching me from arm's length. You're not going to come into this circle of health. I still associate with a lot of people that are food pushers. I just associate with them less often because it doesn't serve my long-term goals in my mental health, in my physical health. And if you don't love me enough in our friendship to see me get healthy, regardless of what your own goals are for yourself, so that I can be here for my children, then I don't think these are the people I want in my inner circle anyhow.
Wow, that's powerful. Wow. Tell me about that. I'm sorry. I wanted to ask about self-sabotage. I'm good at that. Tim, do you self-sabotage, Tim?
As I'm listening to you guys talk, I don't identify with, how do I want to put this? Like, I don't have cravings, or I don't have, like, chocolate's not my thing, or, I want anything specific or past emotional issues, at least as far as I know, that would cause anything particular. But I think from what I said earlier, the sabotage is, I'll eat well for a while, and then it's that, I think, as Julie said, an all or nothing once. And I'm good about, if I have something I didn't want to have necessarily in the day, I'll basically sabotage the week and say, well, then I'll, not just that Tuesday, but well, Friday's coming up, so I might as well, probably going to go off on Friday anyways, or we'll take a trip and we'll eat stuff we shouldn't eat. Or lately, it's like we have a trip coming up at the end of the month out of the country. I'm like, well, I'm going to be eating bad then anyway, so let's just might as well sabotage the next couple of weeks as well.
So
I guess that's a yes.
Because I literally, I kid you not, one of the clients I coached just left for Poland for 2 weeks. And what we did was we sat down and I said, okay, well, let's make a plan. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So can you be 100% on the program we have set up for you while you're gone? And if you can't, what can you do? And what we actually did was sat down together on a phone call and planned out, what does it look like? Where are you going? What are you doing? How do you want to come back? This is an important key, because if you give someone permission to do something they feel is taboo or that they can't do, I shouldn't. And I always tell my clients, don't should on yourself. It's not fun. Just stop shooting on yourself. But if we sit down and plan for your success, what does that look like? And for every client, it's different. He only gets to go and have traditional Polish food on, this journey that he's going on, and he wanted to enjoy a few things. So we sat down and said, okay, what is a healthy way of doing this? Let's continue to look at your health plan and take you to a modified version of it so you can get used to it the week before you leave. And if you want to maintain what you've lost so far, and he's down about 41 pounds, he's been on the program about 5 weeks with us. And he was like, well, I don't want to gain anything that I have already lost. I said, you might, because first of all, air travel, water retention. I always tell my clients, don't weigh yourself, please, the week that you come back. Wait a week till your body kind of settles. Make good choices. It's not what you cheat with or what you go off with. It's the most important thing is, what do you do next? So like you're saying, I ate something, I might as well keep on going because I'm going to be bad next Friday. And I tell people there's no good food, there's no bad food. Food is fuel for your body. Some fuel is better. It's like, do you put Arco in your tank or do you put Chevron or Mobil or, higher octane? What you put in is what you're going to get out. And if you're looking to sustain, quality, you're going to put in quality stuff. So in sitting down with my client and saying, okay, so you're going off to this foreign country, you don't know what your food choices may necessarily be. What are the habits you've developed over working with me that can sustain your way of living? Because the fact is you're not always going to be on this program. You are going to be 100% on your own. And someday I'm not going to be here holding your hand for the next 15 years. What have you learned so far that you can put into practice, and really giving them real world situations? Or you're going out with your wife for a celebratory anniversary dinner and you decide, hey, we're going to Ruth's Chris. What choices can you make at that restaurant that serve your health journey and still be able to go out and celebrate? And really,
that $100 steak should actually solve any kind of wanting to eat
right?
more. That should be enough.
You go and just order that, or do you talk with someone and go, do you know that they put butter on their steaks? Do you know that you can ask for it without butter and you get the same quality filet mignon, not drenched in butter? Can you ask them to actually steam your vegetables as opposed to saute them in butter? Can you have the salad but have the dressing on the side? Can you have 1 glass of wine as opposed to a bottle? I mean, what are the healthy choices you're willing to make? Because it's not
You went
about
too far. You went too
No,
far.
not the wine thing. Yeah,
You went too far.
not possible.
You know what, though?
That's why they have single serving bottles. That's a single
No,
serving
but you know
bottle.
what? Did you know that your body will process, if you're on a weight loss journey and you drink alcohol, your body's going to choose between burning fat or getting rid of alcohol. It can't do both. And the primary focus of your body is to get rid of the toxins. So say goodbye to the alcohol and it will, affect your weight loss in that week. plus the high sugar content of wine or the carbohydrates. And now you're craving sugar again because you've decreased that, processed sugar, and it triggers your brain again. And now you want something the next day, as opposed to, being able. So I have clients that they totally get rid of doing alcohol because it serves them for that time period. Do they go back to drinking it? Yes, but in moderation, and they know when. And I tell them, it's not what you eat. It's like, if you decide I'm going to go out and have a cheat meal, you're not cheating anybody but yourself. But if you make
well, that's good.
choice, it's true. But if you make a choice to have a meal and say, you know what, I'm okay with that. It's not about the meal. It's what do you do after that meal? You go into that slippery slope like Tim's talking about. Well, I'm going to be bad next week, so I might as well keep going. That's like the people who tell me I'm going to wait till New Year's to start the program because I have Christmas and Thanksgiving. You're going to give up 60 days of healthy eating for 2 meals. Heck, I'll give you 3 meals because you went to a relative's house that, your family can't eat, Christmas dinner at the same family because you're all arguing and feuding. So you go to 2 different Christmas dinners. Heck, I'll even give you 4 meals, right? 2 for Thanksgiving, 2 for Christmas, and I'll even throw in New Year's Day. There's 5 meals out of 60 days. You're going to take 5 meals, base your health on that. What if you could go into the first of the year down 20 pounds and wearing that Christmas dress or suit and not feeling like a stuffed turkey in it? Would it be better to be down 20 pounds and on a health journey towards your goals, or wait till the new year so you can go into it feeling like crap? Like, oh my God, if I eat one more thing, I'm going to pop. What do you want to feel like at the end of the day? What do you want your journey to look like? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want to be your health? Is it just to fit into skinny jeans? Because I'll tell you, it feels great to try on smaller clothes, but I would never change how I feel in my body as a healthy person now living a healthy life to the diet feeling of restriction and shame and guilt and doing it just so that people would go, oh, you look great in that outfit. I want to be here for the next 50 years with my family. That's my most important why.
Very good. Julie, you've been amazing. I know. Tim, do you have any follow-up questions for Julie at this time?
No, we covered quite a bit. And obviously, each of these little things we discussed can be a rabbit hole of their own. We talked about different food ways to eat, the mentality, diet types, sustainability. We talked about fasting a bit. I mean, each of those is a 100-hour topic, I'm sure,
And alcohol is healthy. That was a good, I pulled
yeah,
that from this. Drink all the alcohol you can. It's fine.
correct.
Yeah, that's good. Thank
But
you so much for that.
would like to give Julie an opportunity to let people know how to find her.
Oh yeah, good.
That sort of thing. But how can people reach out to Julie?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. Probably the easiest way. I'm listed under Julie Stern Hittleman. My page is public, so you can definitely look me up. The only one. And you can either reach out to me through Messenger. I also have a link to a Jot form if you're interested in what I do and if this would be a fit for you. You can fill out the Jot form, and I can get in touch with you via text or email, however you want to be connected. And we can set up a call and really discuss you personally, because what I do is tailored to each individual. And, I have over 11 different programs that I coach. I don't just help people lose weight. I'm also someone that helps people gain weight. There's medical conditions where people are underweight and need help gaining weight. I help women that are nursing moms, seniors. My youngest client is 13. My oldest is 83.
Wow.
And I have programs for everybody in between because childhood obesity is definitely a thing. So I work with young teens as well, as young as 13. And there's some criteria around that to work with them. But everybody has a different need, and this isn't a one size fits all. It's really tailored to help the individual with their individual needs. And I'm not the right fit for everybody, but the people that want to get healthy, I'd love to hear from you. And even if it's not you, but somebody that struggled with their weight, who's tried all the things. I work with a lot of people after gastric bypass because of the problems they've had with that. But I'd really love to reach more people before they make a surgical correction to their body for something they can actually do themselves. I think far too often we jump to the knife or a pill to fix something that we ourselves with some diligence can do. And so if you know someone like that, I'd love to partner with them and help them find a solution that doesn't require them to alter their body.
Very good. Very good. Connor, you want to close us out?
Yeah, Julie, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, and everybody who's listening, please share. We will be with you next week, next Tuesday, 8 a.m. as usual. If you know anybody who wants to come on the show with Tim and I, please send them our way. We'd love to talk to them about whatever they do and share it with our audience. And Tim, it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, good talking to you, Julie. Maybe we'll have you back on in the future. Again, there's a lot of deep dives we could take into this.
Thank you very much. We will see you later, and have a fantastic rest of your week, folks. Talk to you soon.